Hello again. Today I'm talking about how to deal with disappointment. Now, I chose this topic because for so many of my clients, when they touch the feeling of disappointment, they just want to leave right away. They do not want to sit in that place of disappointment because, to be honest, how many of us do? It does not feel good to really sit with our disappointment. But it comes at a huge cost when we're not willing to really face and process the disappointment, because often this is the place where we tend to either lash out, get reactive, get vindictive, get vengeful, or we collapse and we give up or we shame ourselves. We go into all kinds of unhealthy behaviors that don't really serve us. So there's a huge potential in this work of processing our disappointment, and I want to illuminate a couple of points that have been really helpful for me. So one of the things that's important to notice about disappointment is that disappointment is the feeling that emerges when there is a difference between what we want and what is happening. And this can be on any scale, right? This can be a small thing or a huge thing in our life, but when our expectation or hope does not match what is happening, disappointment is the natural signal that cues us to notice this. And what our temptation is in those moments is to either make what we wanted wrong or to make what is happening wrong, because there's this gap that we're trying to reconcile and it doesn't make sense to us. And so if we can make one thing wrong, then maybe the other thing will feel right. And this usually leads to either, like I said, being in resistance to what is happening or being in resistance to ourselves, neither of which is useful. So, if you find yourself in a moment of disappointment or unmet expectation, making yourself wrong, here's what you can do. You can notice, first of all right, what I wanted didn't happen here. And you might even remind yourself, what I wanted wasn't bad. And the reason that I like to do this is that we can really get caught in making ourselves wrong just because something didn't result the way we wanted. And that keeps us stuck and unable to come back into acceptance of what's actually happening. So what you can work on is using the phrase, it's okay that I wanted, fill in the blank. It's okay to want, fill in the blank. And I'm so sad that it wasn't possible in this situation. It's really important to add, I'm so sad it wasn't possible in this situation, because A, you're mourning. Mourning is how we come into acceptance of what is. And the practice of mourning is not sort of culturally normalized in our Western society, in our modern world these days, but it's a really powerful practice that brings us back in the flow of life and allows us to move forward. So I'm so sad that it wasn't possible in this situation. Now, B, the other part of this is in this situation. One of the things we tend to do when we feel disappointment and we're shaming ourselves or making ourselves wrong is we tend to kind of run wild with this story that things are always going to be this way. Things are never going to work out the way I want. And we can get really black and white in our thinking. So this phrase of, it's okay to want, fill in the blank, and I'm so sad that it wasn't possible in this situation, it cues my brain to kind of stop there and go, look, this is not what's always going to happen to me or my forevermore destiny, but this is just one moment, one experience of disappointment that has the possibility of being different in the future. Now, if you notice yourself actually going to a resistance of what is, like I wanted this thing and I didn't get it and I'm going to make it happen, that's a really uncomfortable feeling, to be in resistance to what has actually happened. So what can be useful there is to check in with the observations of the situation you're in. And I'm talking just, what would a video camera capture, the super basics of what has taken place, and then slowing it down and noticing how you feel. So this is just really basic, but it's very powerful. What has happened? I was told I didn't get the job. We didn't make it to our destination by the start time of the event and we couldn't get in. So the super basics of what happened, and then noticing how you feel. The place that we tend to go is the stories we tell ourselves. Well, they shouldn't have done that, they made the wrong decision, blah, blah, blah. And those stories, while they sometimes can lead to useful growth, most of the time lead us into a negative thought track that doesn't allow us, like I said, to come into alignment with what has actually happened, to find that place of acceptance and our resourcefulness moving forward. So if you find yourself in that resistance to what has happened, again, there might be space to mourn, and the process there is going to be noticing the observation and noticing how you feel. And in particular, I would encourage you to clue into that sadness. A lot of us want to run from that sadness. We want to kind of sidestep it and just will our way into having a different experience. But when we can be present and mourn the difference between what we wanted and what's happening, it allows us, whether we've gone to the side of making ourselves wrong or making reality wrong, it allows us to kind of find a middle way and come back to a sense of acceptance. All right, so if you notice yourself in that uncomfortable place of feeling disappointed because something did not result in the way you wanted, and if you notice yourself going into shaming yourself, the step there is to validate what you wanted and then allow yourself to mourn the thing that you didn't get that you wanted, and reminding yourself that this is one example. This is only one situation. This is not a story of how things will always be. It's one moment. If you notice yourself resisting life, it's this practice of slowing down, checking in with what actually happened, noticing how you feel, and making space for your sadness. So I'm hoping you can tell in both cases, the road is leading you back to mourning what has happened that didn't match what you wanted. And that mourning practice is really the thing that will carry you through and help you find more resilience and come back into kind of a resourceful mindset to meet what has happened and move forward in a more empowered way. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I can't wait to see you next time.